Today we're going to take a look at some Google Slides information. If you would like to have a copy of the slides, you can go to this link right here, exactly how it's typed in. It is case sensitive, so use capital letters where you see capital letters, and there is a hyphen right here. But if you go to a new tab and type that in, you will have a copy of these notes as well. When I'm done recording this, I will be also posting a link back to this recorded video so you can actually see the things that we're talking about in the notes. First thing we're going to do is take a look at what we're going to be covering. We're going to be talking about some general formatting tips in Google Slides, how to insert and use text boxes, inserting and formatting pictures, and we're going to take a look at the Explore feature today. For the general formatting tips, we're going to be talking about some page setup, layout, a little bit of background, and theme things. In order to do this, though, I'm going to go ahead and open up a new document just so I can play around with it and actually show you where those buttons are instead of just talking about it. I'm going to use a new trick that I found out about recently. If you type in slides.new, it's the quickest way to get to a brand new untitled slides presentation. Saves a little bit of time, so I really like that one. So the first thing we said was page setup. It is automatically set up in a certain dimension. So if you want it to look more like, say, a regular piece of paper, you want it to look like a notebook piece of paper or just a different size in general, you can do that. Under the File tab, if you go down to the page setup option right here, notice it's by default, it's always going to be this widescreen, which is great for presentations. But if you need it to look like something else, it's not always the best option. If you want it to look more like the piece of paper, you can come in and do either 11 by 8.5 would be your landscape portrait, and to look more like a piece of paper turned sideways. And if you want it to look more like the portrait, then you're going to do your 8.5 first. Make sure it's set to inches, and that's going to make it look a little more like that. That's going to keep it this size for all of it. So it's not going to just adjust one slide, it's going to adjust all of your slides in your presentation. So if you don't need that, we're just going to go ahead and set it back to the original for now, just so you can see. The next thing that we're going to talk about is the layout. By default, it gives us this title slide. If I don't like this, there's a few ways to change it. I can highlight these boxes. When I drag over them, you'll see they're highlighted in blue, and I could just simply delete them to have a blank slide. Another option is to right-click on my thumbnail off to the left. I did a right-click on my mouse, and I can go to Apply Layout. Notice it's automatically on Title Slide, but I can choose any of these other options. And what they do is, if I were to pick something like this one is automatically has the page kind of split in half in order to add a title and subtitle, and over here I could add text. Some of the other layouts, if I want to have 1 column or 2 columns or just a title, I can also come in here, add in my information, and have some text at the bottom, so it gives you plenty of options there. You can also come in and just choose your blank slide this way. When you are adding slides in, if you just hit the plus button, it's going to automatically choose for you what the layout is going to be. If you don't want that to automatically choose, there's a little drop down right here, and I can tell it what I want my next one to be. And then if I want to come in and change this, I do my right click, apply the layout, and choose a different layout here. So a little bit about the layout. If you want to change the background of a slide, choose any slide in your slide deck. You're going to go under Change Background. You can add pictures in as backgrounds, or you can change the color. You can make it a solid color. You can also change the tab here and make it a gradient color, where the edges are darker than the center. And if you need something a little more subtle, where it's lighter in the middle and darker on the edges, notice on my thumbnails, it is only changing the background for this one slide. So changing the background does not change it for all the slides. If I want to change all of the slides, that's where I'm going to use the theme button. By default, it already opened over here on the left. If I did not have this option on the right side, excuse me, not the left, the right side, if I did not already have that, I could just get to the same place by clicking on the word theme right here. And as I go through, if I choose this, you'll notice these ones are changing. Let me go ahead and change the layout on this one. It's keeping my background. So if I don't want that, I can reset that to the theme. And this is what it would look like. And then depending on what style of a layout I have, it's going to look a little bit different. Let's add in a few of these different ones so you can see. So you can see that not all of them are the same, depending on what you have on there. It has the same color pattern, but it doesn't necessarily have the exact same type of layout. Some of these look a little bit different than each other. And then the same is true if we go down and select a different theme. Here's our title page, but you'll notice some of these pages are very different from each other depending on the layout that we chose. They complement each other and they go together, but they're not going to be exactly the same. And when I choose a theme, it affects all of my slides. If I have a background color, they might work together and they might not. So just be aware, if you change your background color on a slide and then start playing with your theme, it could end up looking a way that you don't want it to look, and you might have to take away your background in order to fix that. So that is a little bit about the general formatting. Next, we're going to be talking about using a text box. Sometimes, depending on the layout that you choose, they're already going to have a text box there, and you can also insert it yourself. So there's going to be multiple ways to do that. Let's go down and go ahead and grab a blank slide. So in order to get a text box, one of the ways is up on my toolbar. Right here, there's a T inside a square. When I hover over it, it says text box. If I select that, I get a plus sign. I can click and drag, and that's going to make a text box that I can type in with my blinking cursor here. I can also go up to my insert menu right here and go to text box. Same thing. Or I can just simply do it by my layout. So if I go in here and I choose a layout that already has something like a caption or a title or columns, that is going to have text boxes already in place. So for instance, if I choose this, it already has a text box here, and it's already set up for me to click and start typing into. So those are 3 ways that you can get a text box. You can change the shape and size of the text box by grabbing the corners and dragging it in. Then that gives you room to fit another text box next to it if you need more information off to the side. I can change everything inside the text box by selecting inside. Now I can come up and I can change the font. I can change the size. I can change the alignment and more. I'm going to leave that up there just so you can see. Best practice is to highlight all of your text. Now I can come in and change my font. I can change my size. I can make it bold or unbold, italics, underline. I can change the color. I can highlight it. My alignment, I can also change it right to left, so if I want it centered, but then I can also change the vertical alignment, so I can center it top to bottom as well, or if I need it at the bottom of my text box. So I have some options there. And then if you have multiple paragraphs, you can change your spacing and add in extra spaces in between the paragraphs. You can also make numbered lists for outlines, for note-taking. You can make bulleted lists up here, so check out all of these different format options. There's quite a few of them that you can do. So I can also, with my text box, after I've changed the size, if I change the size to make it more narrow than my sentence, it's going to put it automatically into 2 sentences. You can also grab this little dot right at the very top and rotate it if you need to fit something in at a different angle. Maybe you're designing a brochure or a page that needs some text at a different angle. And then to delete it, all you have to do is hit the backspace or the delete button while it's selected. And I know it's selected because it has a blue line around it. Some other interesting options with this while you have it selected is to go under your format options. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the font or the highlighting there for just a moment. Once I have this selected, if I go under format options, there are also some things that you can do with this under here. Drop shadows can be really nice. So if I select this, and I can even pick what I want my drop shadow color to be. I'm going to go back to black just so it stands out a little bit more. And I'm going to move the distance away. So you can see that it adds a little bit of 3 dimensions to it, which is kind of nice. And you can change the angle if it's shadow at the top, to the side, underneath. And so you have some options there too. And it'll also do a reflection if you need that. If you want this text box to stand out on its own and have a border, all you have to do is while it's selected, you're going to come up to your border weight. Right now there is no border weight, so when I click away from this blue line disappears and you can't see the outline of it. So if I give it some weight, you'll see now my border is showing, and even when I click away, now I can still see the edges, which can give it it sort of separates your text from the rest and gives it a nice title feeling to it and separates it. If you are using something called word art, that is going to act differently than a text box. That you are going to insert right up here under the insert option and go down to word art. This acts a little bit differently. When you're entering it, you'll see the directions say use enter to save it, use shift and enter for multiple lines. So if I was typing multiple lines, I can't hit enter here. It's going to actually insert it. So if I want this to be on 2 separate lines and I want to work with this, I have to double click on it, get it back over here. I'm going to click where I want that enter to go in. I'm going to hold down my shift key and then hit an enter. Got an extra space in there now, so I'm going to get rid of that. Now I hit a single enter. That's the only way to put it on multiple lines. You'll notice it's not going into this text box behind it, so I'm just going to go ahead and click on that, and I'm going to go ahead and delete that text box just to get it out of our way. And you'll notice that this is filled in with a bluish color. So I can work with this under my paint can. You'll see the same blue color is there. So I can actually fill that with a color, which gives it a little bit different look than a text would. But then I can also come in and do a gradient color, and you'll notice each one has like a lighter towards the center and darker towards the edge, which can give it a really nice look depending on the project you're doing. You can change the border color. So right now it's hard to see. I'll make it thicker. The outline of every letter is blue. So if I go in and make that thicker. So a lot of different options with word art that you can play with. And then same thing here. You can change the font and get some really nice design options going on with your text boxes. So next we're going to take a look at pictures. There are multiple ways of inserting pictures as well. And there are multiple places to bring them in from. Grab a new page. So in order to insert a picture, you can again go to your toolbar right here where it says Insert Image. It's right next to the text box. You can go to your Insert menu and choose Image. And you can also use your layouts to determine if you want a picture in there. Once you've decided that you're going to put an image in, then you have to decide where's it going to come from. So you can upload it from the computer you're on if you're on a laptop or if you have it saved on the device you're using. You can search the internet for a picture. If you have it saved in your Google Drive or your Google Photos, if you have a URL from a website already and you already know what that is, or you can use your camera on your device to insert a picture. Okay. We're just going to go ahead and do a search for web. When I choose that, it's going to pop up over to the right. So if I was doing a report and I needed a picture of a cow, I can go ahead and click here. I can click and drag this out, or I can double click on it to insert it. In order to resize it, I'm going to grab a corner. If I grab it from the center, it's only going to change one dimension, which maybe there's some pictures where that's a good thing. Most of the time, you're going to want to use a corner because that changes the vertical and horizontal at the same time and keeps the scale so that it makes the entire picture smaller and doesn't distort it. I can also move this around simply by dragging and dropping, and I can rotate this as well. Lots of different things that I can do with this picture. If I double click on this picture, you're going to see some black lines at the corners just inside the blue lines. That is a crop option. So if I grab the black line instead of the blue one, you'll see that what I'm actually doing is cutting out the bottom part of this picture. So if I have too much background and I don't need that much background, I want this not to include so much of the field, I can do that and then hit enter, and you'll see that it got rid of the rest of it. So even if I make this larger, you'll see that there's a lot less of the background around the cow. So that cropping it can definitely help depending on the picture that you bring in. You can have the same options that we did for the text box. So under format options, I can come in and add shadows to this. Let me make it a little bigger so you can see. What's nice about that is it gives it that kind of three-dimensional look, like it's rising up off the page. I can also give these borders, which makes it really nice, like a framed picture. Really sets it off and adds some nice elements to your design. You can also layer pictures. I'm going to go ahead and grab another picture real quick. If you happen to have more than one, and depending on how you're doing this, if you're kind of doing this as a collage, watch what happens to this picture. It went behind it because this was on the page first. This one is layered on top. If I want to reverse that, there's a couple of different options that I can do. One of the options that I can do is I can right click on it and come down and find the order and tell it to bring it to the front. You'll see there's also a control command, control shift in the up arrow. But now this one can sit on top, and that way if I'm doing a collage of pictures, I can actually layer them one on top of the other. To delete it, I just simply have it highlighted and press the delete key to get rid of it. So that was pictures. The last thing we're going to talk about is the Explore feature. There are also multiple ways of opening the Explore feature. You can use it to do research, help you look for photos, help with layouts. And then we're also going to watch a really quick video about the Explore feature.
For this episode, we'll take a look at the two main benefits of the Explore feature, search and formatting. And we'll use this basic presentation on polar bears as an example. You might not have noticed it before, but the Explore button is in each of your Google Slides files and located in the bottom right corner. Let's navigate there to start. We'll first leverage Explore to search the web and simplify our research. Explore saves users time and energy by enabling search across web and Google Drive files right from your presentation and without having to switch to another window. I'd like to add some extra information to this presentation. So to do this, I'll enter polar bear weight in the Explore search bar, select web, and lots of results will appear. I'm going to look through them, and this Polar Bears International website looks like a credible source. So I'll use their data and add the typical weight of 775 to 1,300 pounds to my presentation. We all know that imagery is a key element of compelling presentations. The Explore search functionality can help here too, by sharing approved images for inclusion. To do this, I'll run an image search for polar bear diet, and when I find one that I'd like to use, I'll click the small plus sign that appears at the top of the picture when I hover over it. Notice how the image can be adjusted to fit well into my slide, and that when I click it, I can see the image source as well. With Explore, users can easily access ideas for layout suggestions and apply them to slides for just the right look. This is a huge help for busy teachers looking for ways to save time in order to focus on their most important priorities. To do this, select Explore and then check out the options for the selected slide. Once you've found one that you like, choose it and then continue on to subsequent slides. Nice and easy. Well, I think our presentation is ready for prime time. In the comments below, share your experiences using Explore, or let us know what functionality you'd like to see added next. Explore more EDU-N90 by watching past episodes, and as always, you can hear what's new from Google for Education by subscribing to our YouTube channel.
Okay, so really quick again, that Explore button down in the bottom right corner. The nice thing when you're doing research is it's going to automatically be right here in the same slide. You don't have to be up in a different tab, so you can look up that information very quickly and easily without having to leave your presentation. The other ways to get there though, you can also get there under the Tools menu. So right here under Tools, you can get there, and you'll see there's also, if you like control commands, keyboard shortcuts, Control, Alt, Shift, and the letter I will open up that Explore feature as well. So hopefully this helped, and have a very nice day.